My name is Fredo Salmon Njage from Edukea Company in Tanzania. I'm a history teacher teaching advanced level. We are proceeding with our topic, which is the rise of capitalism in Europe. So in the last session, we ended on the rhythm that made Britain to be referred as the workshop of the world. Welcome in this session, whereby we are going to proceed with the factors for the decline of Britain as the workshop of the world. The first factor for the decline of Britain as the workshop of the world was industrialization of other European nations. This was the major factor that led to the decline of Britain as the workshop of the world. In which sense? In the sense that other European nations like Germany, France, Italy, Japan, and USA were developed in industrial sector. So it increased the competition in industrial production that challenged Britain in the market. So due to that factor led to the decline of Britain or British hegemony in industrial technology. Another factor it was Germany unification of 1870 to 1871. What is German unification? In the previous times or previous lessons we saw German unification, whereby various states, about 360 states, were united to form a single nation, which is Germany. For example, states like Hanover, Austria, Prussia, Bavaria, and other states were joined together in order to make a single nation. And the unification contributed to the expansion of market or the manufactured goods. So you can see that unification, the nation which were formed, come up with the policies and the strategies on how they will increase the production of industrial goods and food. So that unification championed the British hegemony at the workshop of the world, and due to that unification led to the decline in one way or another of British at the workshop of the world. But another factor was the USA independence of 1776. The USA independence was the struggle for American independence. It means that America was under the domination of British or Britain. So in this year, Americans attained their independence. That marked the end of British domination in America. So you can see how Britain lost valuable corn or valuable area which were producing high raw materials and other minerals which were needed in British industries. So due to the USA independence in that year led to the decline of British economy, as led to the decline of Britain at the workshop of the world. But another factor was the London Exhibition of 1852. This was the invasion or invitation which done by Britain in a city of London in 1852 to call those other European nations come and to witness the technological advancement of Britain. So due to that invitation, many European nations adopted and imitated the technology which were used by Britain in a technology. So those European nations copied that technology and decided to use and import it in their industries. So they produced the same products or industrial products that led to the competition in industrial production. As a result, the British hegemon declined because as the European nations started to produce industrial products at the same of Britain. Another factor was conservativeness of the English industrial sector. It means that the English industrial sector was reluctant. The government of England or Britain was not changing, was reluctant or conservative. That led to the production of the same products, and the population were niche in the way technology was advancing, and the population wanted the goods according to the change of technology. So other European nations go with the change or the advancement of technology, whereby advanced products were produced by those European nations that led to the competition among Britain and other European nations in the market. So the British manufactured goods declined in the market, so it could be difficult for Britain to compete in the market, so that led to its decline at the workshop of the world because another European nations started to produce the advanced and modern manufactured goods more than of that English, which were conservative in production. Another factor was independence of British colonies, for example in Asia and Africa. As soon as time went on, British colonies were struggling to regain their lost freedom. For example, in India and Burma, those were British colonies which were struggling by that time to regain or to restore their lost freedom under the domination of Britain. So after attaining their independence, Britain lost the influential areas whereby she got various raw materials and other agricultural products for advancement and development of our industries. So in that sense, the hegemon of Britain was declined, and that led to the decline of Britain at the workshop of the world. The last factor for the decline of Britain at the workshop of the world was provisions of loans to the European nations. Let me have told you that Britain regarded at the workshop of the world and they dominated the world economy. So she decided to floor the loans to other European nations. So those European nations decided to invest that capital or loans in industrial sector. So from that action led to European nations start to produce industrial goods that were championing the British manufactured goods in the market. So led to the decline of Britain at the workshop of the world because other European nations started to champion her in the market. These were the factors for the decline of Britain at the workshop of the world. Let us see how industrial revolution spread to Belgium, France, Italy, Japan, Germany, and USA. You have to remember that, or that point. In the first phase of Industrial Revolution, I told you that it was started in Britain and later on in 1816s. The spread of industrial revolution was spread in other European nations, as I have mentioned here. So how that industrial revolution spread to those countries, or other European countries in 1816? The first reason, or the first way, was through London Exhibition of 1852. I have told you that London Exhibition was the invitation of Britain to invite other European nations come and witness the technological advancement which she had by that time. So the European nations which were invited in Britain, in Britain, on the city of London, those countries copied the technological advancement which were employed by Britain, and they started to use them in their industries, producing various manufactured goods which championed, or that led to the increase of industrial revolution in their countries. So in that sense, the industrial revolution is spread to those countries from all through London Exhibition. But another way was the role of British overseas trade. As we have to know that Britain was conducted both commercial, capital, and raw materials. So Britain was sold both goods and commercial capital, which commercial capital included machines and technological tools which were bought by other European nations, and that technology which were bought by other European nations started to spread in their industries and to produce various industrial products which was the saying of British. So you can see how British overseas trade led to the spread of industrial revolution in other European nations. But another way was labor mobility. The European nations decided to vote or to hire the British scientists and researchers to make the investigation on technological advancement, on how they will increase the industrial capability. So those laborers and manufacturers who were hired by other European nations like France, Belgium, Germany, and Italy, and the other European nations, made to the spread of knowledge from Britain to other European nations. So you can see how that industrial revolution is spread to those nations. But another way was through state unification. Through state unification, it was in the sense that those states were divided into smaller states, and each state were dependent on itself. But those leaders were decided to unite those small states and to make a single nation. So through doing so, those nations which were made after the unification, for example, I told you that Germany in 1871 were united. Almost 360 states were united to form Germany. So the extension of market was possible and made, and the production was increased, and the supply of labor was increased because the states were unified. So you can see how was industrial revolution was developed due to the increase of markets and the laborers who were employed in industrial sector. But another way on how industrial revolution spread to Belgium, France, Italy, Japan, Germany, and the USA was through presence of abundant natural resources. It means that in those other European nations which I have mentioned, there were abundance of natural resources, but in the previous time, they were not aware on which way they will exploit those natural resources and use them in their industries. So after copying the technological advancement in Britain, so they started to exploit those natural resources which were present in their countries and to use them in their industries to produce the various industrial products. So in that way, those natural resources which were present in their nations spread to the industrial revolution in respective country. The last way on how industrial revolution spread to those nations were availability of capital. In which way the availability of capital led to the spread of industrial revolution? It means that capital were used to buy industrial technology from Britain and other European nations. So that capital were used to buy advanced technology from Britain, hiring local skilled and manufacturers, laborers in the industries which were established after copying technological advancement from Britain. So you can see that capital was used in ensuring the development of industrial revolution in those countries. So after looking how industrial revolution spread to those nations, let us see the impact of industrialization in Europe. The impacts were categorized or are categorized in two groups, which is positive effects and negative effects. Sorry, not changes, are effects. Effects. By starting with positive effects of industrialization in Europe, it led to the growth of towns. Here we are focusing on entire Europe, the positive impacts of industrialization in Europe at large. So the first one was it led to the growth of towns. Due to the industrialization, many towns were grown due to the presence of high population which supported markets and source of laborers. So, for example, towns like Lancashire, Yorkshire, New York City, Amsterdam, Bristol, and other towns in Europe were grown due to the industrialization process. But another positive effect was it led to the rapid expansion of population, whereby the population of Europe was tripled from 140 to 463. So you can see how population was increased due to the industrialization process. On how industrialization led to the rapid expansion of population, it means that the production of food crops were increasing and the medical services were improved because the science and technology was advanced. So the diseases which were killing the people were treated and cured. So you can see how industrialization led to the expansion of population. Another effect, it brought new development in transport system. It means industrialization brought new development in transport system in the sense that various transport means were made, like ships, canoes, vessels, trains, and other transport means, which was made the transportation activities to be possible and simple. Another impact, it led to the rise of labor unions. It means that industrialization led to laborers to unite together on deciding the collective bargaining with their employers. So industrialization as was aimed at maximizing and making high profit. The laborers were exploited by the industrial owners. So those laborers were united in order to demand the rights and high wages which were denied by the industrial owners. The last positive effects of industrialization in Europe was it led to the political changes. In which sense? Those industrial owners had the domination and influence to the government which were existing. So all decisions which were made in the government was favoring the industrial owners and not the working class. So you can see that those industrial owners had the high influence on end decisions concerning with working class people. So even in demanding of their rights from exploitation by those industrial owners were like empty praise, meaning nothing they could achieve because the influence to the government was on the hands of industrial owners because was the chief source of national income. So after looking at the positive effects of industrialization in Europe, let us jump to the negative effects of industrialization in Europe. The first one was led to the creation of towns. Sorry, this was not negative impact. The first negative effect was environmental pollution. Environmental pollution. It means those industries which were established were producing harmful gases which were polluting the air and water or water sewage from the industries were direct to the water bodies which polluted the water bodies and that water were consumed or used by human beings. So those pollution could bring the diseases or outbreak of disease to the population which were around those industrial areas. Another negative effect was it increased the exploitation of working class. It means that the industrialization in Europe led to the increase of exploitation of working class. In which sense? The industrial owners aimed at maximization of profit or making high profit rather than cost or the use of high cost in production. So they decided to pay low wages to working class in order to maximize profit. So you can see those working class people were working at long hours on poor working conditions, but were paid lowly. So that was negative impact because people were working for long hours, but their payments were low. That could not satisfy their needs and for feeding their families. But another negative effect was it led to the unemployment and the other social evils. Industrialization or the Industrial Revolution marked the replacement of human labor by machines. So those industries which were established by that time led to the unemployment of people, of those labor, because machines were invented and replaced the human labor. So humans were no longer in jobs. So led to some social evils like robbery, thief, and the others. So these were the negative effects, are some, but there is another negative effects, but I have mentioned few. After looking at the negative effects of industrialization in Europe, let us go directly to the factory system. What is the factory system? Was the industrial production system characterized by the confinement of different buildings but related industrial unit in the same industrial plant called the factory? This was the industrial production which was aimed at the confinement of different buildings with the same what? With the same industrial plant, which was called the factory. This was high buildings which were comprised by different machines that aimed to produce at large quantity. So that was called the factory system. After looking on the definition of factory system, let us go to see this statement. It was replacement of domestic cottage system in which workers made goods in their homes or cottage and used their own tools. It means that the factory system was a replacement of cottage system whereby workers were producing goods on their homes and by using their own tools.
Purchase your tracks today.